Welcome to Forthright. I'm Sulani Madsen, and this week's column and commentary reacts to Governor Jay Inslee's State of the State message, delivered per tradition at a joint session of the Washington legislature on the opening day of the session. It has more pomp and circumstance than the president's annual speech to Congress, with all the statewide elected officials coming in, the Supreme Court, and a host of foreign dignitaries all introduced and duly applauded. First published Thursday, January 18th, 2024, in the Spokesman Review, the state of the state is not number one. Governor Jay Inslee announced in his last annual State of the State speech that we are the strongest state in the nation. According to U.S. News & World Report Best States Rankings for 2023, Washington was overtaken by Utah in 2023 and is number 2 in the overall rankings, just like the UW Huskies. So maybe it's the economy and growth that makes us the strongest. Governor Inslee cited population growth, a rising minimum wage, and a higher GDP. But we can't claim that first place trophy on the basis of the economy, at least not according to Statista. Our GDP growth rate at 45% is lower than the overall national rate of 51% over the same period. And U.S. News ranks Washington as number 6 to Idaho's number 1 in economic and growth categories, where Washington also lags behind Utah, Tennessee, Florida, and Arizona. Traffic deaths are at a 20-year peak. The homeless population count is at an all-time high and grew at a rate of 11% per year. Our estimated shortfall in housing is over 250,000 new housing units, and student achievement scores are abysmal on OSPI's annual report card on our public school system. If all that makes us the strongest state in the nation, heaven help those behind us. In a rebuttal from the Washington Republicans, Senator Nikki Torres, Republican of Pasco, said, "Under one-party rule in Olympia, our state has become less safe, less affordable, and in far too many ways we are failing our children." The statistics seem to be in her favor. According to Torres, Deputy Republican floor leader and first Latina senator elected from Eastern Washington, quote, "The news is like a running indictment of the majority's failed policies. Record number of overdoses and fentanyl deaths, Kia boys inspired by internet trends and weak police pursuit laws are on a crime spree from one end of the state to the other," end quote. She also cited the impact of the Climate Commitment Act on driving up prices, impacting hardworking Washingtonians and those in the rural parts of her district the hardest. Washington ranks second in highest rates of auto theft per capita at more than twice the national average, according to Torres. She also pointed to the impact of retail theft on perceptions of public safety. Quote, "The 24% rise in larceny thefts from 2019 to 2022 is also second highest in the nation, according to FBI crime data," end quote. At least we're not number 1 in those categories. It wouldn't be an Inslee speech without a climate lecture on a clear path to slash greenhouse gases 95% by 2050. There would be less eye-rolling if we were already hitting targets for greenhouse gas emissions reductions, but overall emissions rose 7% from 2018 to 2019. Inslee's own Department of Ecology shows a nifty chart outlining peaks and valleys as greenhouse gases rise and fall in response to complex climate factors, then assumes this year, yes, this is the year, the line will slide smoothly and steadily down without interruption. And why will emissions suddenly become orderly and predictable? In 2019, Inslee signed an executive order requiring that by 2020-2021 fiscal year, half of all purchases of passenger vehicles for the state vehicle fleet would be battery electric vehicles. They weren't. So, in 2021, the governor issued another executive order, 21-04, establishing a new set of ambitious goals. But in spite of confidently pronouncing good intentions, and according to his own Department of Enterprise Services report, quote, "The state of Washington is unlikely to meet the BEV goals," end quote, due to a variety of ordinary logistical challenges. Even the Department of Ecology didn't buy EVs when they replaced 7 vehicles in 2022. According to Todd Myers of the Washington Policy Center, they bought 3 Nissan Titan Pro 4Xs, 2 Dodge Ram 3500s, and 2 Dodge Ram 2500s. It's another odd-numbered year. Must be time for another wave of the magic wand by executive order, the same wand Inslee keeps emphasizing can't make homelessness disappear. Inslee closed his State of the State with classic fear-mongering on a Democratic rile-up-the-base issue. to enshrine reproductive freedom in the Constitution. There is no Republican assault on abortion in Washington in 2024. This year's partisan assault on choices in reproductive care is coming from the left. A bill filed this session would restrict access to ultrasounds at pregnancy support centers, eliminating an option for women seeking information to make an informed choice. The rationale? Such women-focused care centers don't provide a full range of health services. It would be ironic if an enterprising lawmaker filed a bill requiring any clinic advertising its purpose as planning for parenthood to provide prenatal care, parenting classes, a choice of obstetrician and/or midwife for delivery, and free diapers. Or maybe legislators could just focus in this short 60-day session on the core business of the state and resist political posturing. Torres closed her State of the State response with a more positive message. Together, we can put people before politics. Well, I realize that last line is a slogan. One slogan's as good as another, I guess. People before politics would be a great way to be running the session. Before skimming through a few of those background statistics that make a lie out of Governor Inslee's self-congratulatory farewell speech, let's tackle that abortion rant. According to Pew Research, 71% of Americans agree there are some good reasons for allowing legal abortion. You might even call that majority group both pro-choice and pro-life, just to different degrees. Only 8% of Americans identify as anti-abortion, since they say they see no reasons for exceptions. But 19% also can be called extremists. They are pro-abortion extremists, since they oppose all restrictions. This is the abortion until first breath crowd of pro-abortion extremists who control the platform of the Democratic Party. These are the people on social media who, when asked, when does life begin, or where do they draw the line on abortion, or why, will find 27 different ways to duck the question, usually by accusing you of hating women or bringing up extremely rare occasions when a mother's life is in danger. And those are the occasions that the 71% will all agree are grounds for an exception. Actually, that would be, now that I think about it, that'd be almost 90% would agree that's a reason for an exception. If you add together the 71% who are both pro-choice and pro-life, and you add in the 19% who are pro-abortion, you would come up with, there's no question about that. Why do we keep having those cases waved around as if they are some example of anything other than just an extremist rant? Anyway, my own position is not captured in surveys like this. I am not anti-abortion. Abortion should not be banned. It's an imprecise term for a group of medical procedures done for different purposes. And any government that claims the power to ban abortions can also claim the power to require them. I just don't want the government involved. I embrace the title pro-life, and I object to the death penalty, although I do understand the difficult moral arguments surrounding both of those positions. When I answer the question of when does life begin, the only place I can see to draw a line between a human life and a clump of cells is at conception. Once sperm and egg have combined into a complete new set of instructions for a new human being and planted properly in the womb, there is a baby's life involved in the abortion decision. We've already created a robust body of philosophical work in the debate over how to make end-of-life decisions. Just leave abortion alone as a medical decision between a woman and her doctor to be exercised within the same ethical framework as any other end-of-life decision. Women deserve better than this constant argument being used for fundraising. We can't get there until we value and support motherhood and until Democrats stop using fear-mongering rants about attacks on reproductive freedom to rile up their base. And that's the end of my rant on that subject. Let's talk about the state of the state. Best and worst rankings are always a bit suspect. You have to read what factors were used, how they were weighted, but if you look at enough of them, you might spot a few trends. And I'll talk a little bit about the happiness rankings. Washington ranks number 22 overall in happiness with a score of 54.87 out of 100 possible points. We are number 26 in emotional and physical well-being, number 23 for work environment, number 12 for community environment. The methodology to create the list, Wallet Hub compared 50 U.S. states on 30 metrics across 3 key dimensions, and it's really kind of fun to go poke around in there. If you want to see what that looks like, you can find that on the Substack. Emotional and physical well-being is category 1, which includes career well-being, physical health index, and social well-being. That's worth 50 points. Emotional and physical well-being is worth half the score. Work environment, which includes number of work hours, commute time, and current unemployment rate, is 25 points. And community and environment, which includes volunteer rate, ideal weather, and safety, is 25 points. WalletHub graded each metric on a 100-point scale, with 100 representing maximum happiness. Each state's overall score was calculated by using the weighted average across all metrics, and the overall scores were then used to rank each state. Utah scored number 1, Hawaii number 2, then Maryland, Minnesota, New Jersey, Connecticut, California, Florida, and Idaho at number 9, and Washington at number 22. So links to the research for the statistics referenced in the column and to this WalletHub, what I just mentioned, are included on the Substack. The bottom line is I couldn't find a single metric where Washington scored number 1. The rebuttal from Senator Nikki Torres was much more grounded in reality. Democrats have been gunning for her community since 2021 because they are just sure her district needs to be redrawn so Hispanic voters can have a majority voice to elect an Hispanic legislator. Senator Torres is charming, intelligent, and definitely Hispanic, and that combination is a great embarrassment to Democrats when you point out their actions to overturn the lines as drawn by the Bipartisan Redistricting Commission might possibly unseat one of the 2 Hispanic legislators representing Eastern Washington districts. I reposted an article about that lawsuit that was on Twitter. It was written by Jerry Kornfeld in the Washington State Standard. Again, links on Substack. The headline was, "Redrawing Contested Legislative District Could Cost Several GOP State Lawmakers Their Seats." So I tagged the Washington State Senate Democrats and suggested an alternative headline and said, reject the redistricting commission, you're attacking the 15th legislative district and the first Latina senator to be elected from Eastern Washington. So to the Washington Senate Democrats, I said, the question, are you racist or misogynist or both? And you know those are the words that would be thrown around if the Senate Republicans did anything so blatantly partisan. A brief excerpt from the article. Kornfeld writes, "There's 5 possible ways to redraw the 15th legislative district, and they are now pending before U.S. District Court Judge Robert Lasnik. Lasnik ruled the district's borders violate federal law by impairing the ability of Latino voters to participate equally in elections. He said he wants a new map in place for the district in time for the 2024 elections." Okay, that's like, there was very good Latino participation in the 15th legislative district, and they elected a Latina senator, so not really borne out by the results. I'll skim through each of the 5 options would move multiple Republican legislators and hundreds of thousands of residents. None displace a Democratic lawmaker, prompting the state Senate Republican leader to deem the proposals a giant political power grab that would transform a swing district in which a candidate from either party could win into one that strongly favors Democrats. This is a complete gerrymander, Senate Minority Leader John Brown from Centralia said after the proposed maps were filed with the court. It's just an effort to use the courts as rough cover to pick up a district in Eastern Washington without doing anything to help the Latino community. That's Senator Brown's conclusion. What's most ironic is 4 of the proposals would push GOP Senator Nikki Torres of Pasco, the chamber's lone Republican Latina, out of the 15th district into a neighboring district where she would have to run against a currently serving Republican senator from the 16th. So I reposted the article to Twitter, and I tagged Senator Andy Billig with a question. I said, the shifts appear gratuitous and intentional. King and Mossbrucker are drawn out of their current district by less than 1 mile, and Chandler is moved into a neighboring district by 500 feet, according to the analysis submitted with their court brief. Why, Andy Billig? And to my surprise, Senator Billig responded with an email, and this is exactly what he wrote. Hi, Sulani. I saw your retweet of Jerry Kornfeld's article. I just received a summary of the maps proposed by the plaintiffs, and it looks like the most likely scenario is the compliant district would be the 14th legislative district, which means Senator Torres would most likely be safe in her 15th legislative district seat. I was also told that the plaintiffs submitted new maps to address the concerns expressed by some of the displaced legislators in their original maps. The latest maps they submitted fixed some of the displacements. It doesn't really answer the why question. It's still using the courts to, it's just making excuses for why it's not as bad as it looks. If it looks like gerrymandering, it quacks like gerrymandering, and it is gerrymandering for partisan gain, and nothing at all to do with empowering Hispanic voters. Thank you for joining this edition of Forthright. Subscribe at Substack with or without a pledge for notification of new content. And as always, you'll find additional reference links posted there so you can check things out for yourself.